Hi, amazing people. Welcome to the No Human Issues Less podcast. It's been a long time coming. Finally, we are here. And this is our first episode. But before then, I need you to know that this platform is a space where we share real life stories of pain and struggles that people go through, sometimes suicidal thought, but are able to overturn things and then turn that from pain to purpose. So we're going to bring in people with marvelous stories to come and share what they've been through, points where they felt their life had come to an end, and how they were able to overcome all those challenges to inspire people who go through same things to let them know that suicide is never an option. Welcome to the episode 1. My name is William Plange, and for this episode I'm going to share my story and how No Human is Useless came to being. And to remind you, this episode is brought to you by TryWork Ghana and then Brain Fitness Center Africa. Stay tuned.
No human is useless. We've walked through storms.
Welcome back. Now let's dive deep into this whole story why we created the No Human is Useless space. Now, this No Human is Useless was birthed out of my own personal journey of unemployment, depression, being looked down on, and all of those stuff. You see, growing up in a community where everybody will tell you that make sure you take your studies seriously, make sure you are first in class, because when you do so, your life is going to be beautiful, you're going to land a good job, and all of those stuff. Got stuck in my mind when I was growing up. Growing up with my grandmom and then my mom, during that time, my grandmom owned a bar, a drinking spot. So, what I do, my daily routine was to sell alcohol, go to school, come back, do my homework, sell alcohol, and go back to school. And then that was my daily routine. But through it all, I still had it at the back of my mind that I was taking my studies seriously for me to complete school, to land a good job, to have a better life. So fast forward, I did well in school. I wasn't first in class though, but then I was, top three, top five. I was in there. Completed school, did my national service, and then there was no job. And that was when depression started with me. And I end up getting this kind of jobs that, this kind of jobs that you end up using your salaries as transportation back to work. And so at the end of the month, there's nothing to be saved. Sometimes you need to borrow money to go back to work. Those were the kind of jobs I was getting. All right. And it was very tough. Then, of course, I see my friends who I was way better than in class. They were doing so well. Some had bought their cars, some landed good jobs, some learned skills that was building them up. And anytime I saw them, I felt a bit lagging behind because if what we were told in our community was true, I was the one supposed to get all these jobs and all these things that they were having. So this thing was eating me up. And as a firstborn in my family during that time, I was barely noticed because I didn't contribute to the bills at home. I wasn't supporting financially. I was not seeing that much. So this thing kept on eating up with me. And then one day, me and my friends, we met, we were having a chit chat. And one of them who was doing well, but was like last in class, but life was fortunate for him. He was doing so well. He passed a comment to me that, hey, William, you need to get a life because we are all moving. And that thing struck me. To him, he was just passing a comment, but it really hit me so hard. And I felt so bad. My state of depression doubled up. And it was so tough for me because looking at me not being regarded at home, my friends, some mocking me, sometimes the words that I spewed were would eat you up, right? So then fast forward, one day I couldn't take it all. I decided to leave it all behind, move from the city to go live in the forest. The forest, I knew some small family there. I had to just place a call to them like, hey, I want to come spend some time with you and see how life goes for me. So I was welcome. I took a night bus, just went to the forest, A total forest that had no electricity, no good drinking water. Sometimes we need to drink from a stream that looked green in color. It was tough for me. It was very tough for me because I grew up in the city. I wasn't exposed to this kind of lifestyle. So truthfully, my first week in the forest was very tough. I was very sad. And this was a daily routine. When you wake up in the morning around 4 a.m., you need to walk like 4 to 5 hours into the deep farms with a group of boys where we go you go to the farm to get cassava, plantain, all these food stuff. And then I didn't know how to weed, so I just followed them. And when we are done with the cultivating of all these food stuff, me and some other guys will carry them. We walk back 4 to 5 hours back to the villages to prepare food and then eat. And you couldn't say you wouldn't go with them. That is where the food is. So you have to follow them if you want to eat. Otherwise, you stay home and you wait for them to come back before you get food to eat. So this was very tough for me. And after a week, I felt calm inside. All of a sudden, I wasn't thinking about not having a job. I wasn't thinking about the competition amongst me and my friends back in the city. Everything was so calm. I found myself in that small space with nature, with this small group of people who were all loving. Inwardly, I was getting healed from that state of depression while I was in the city. Now, I'm somebody who loves to meditate, who loves to pray. One day, I went to sit under a tree and I was just saying, God, is my life always going to be this way? I just want to hear your voice. Talk to me. Am I going to live my life in this forest forever? So while I was saying these words, while I was praying, I heard a whisper, a female voice whisper in my ear that, William, go back to the city and start a business called the Errand Boy. So for those who know about the Errand Boy, that is how I had this message while I was in the forest. It says, start a business called the Errand Boy with no explanation as to what to do with the Errand Boy, just the Errand Boy. So six months down the line, I came back to the city, met this friend, big shout outs to Widi in Indonesia. On one day, we were just having a chat, and then she revealed that she was a graphic designer. I'm like, oh, cool. If you're a graphic designer, then design a logo for me with my name, Mr. Plange. So she did it, and it was very beautiful. And I'm like, okay, so why don't you add the Errand Boy as my slogan? Because the Errand Boy is my slogan. So we had a perfect logo, Mr. Plange, the Errand Boy. So I posted it, having no idea what to do with it because the only message I heard from that whisper was Errand Boy. Now I posted this on my status and I said, hey, look, if you're a busy scheduled person and you want somebody to run errands for you, pick up your kids from school, do the groceries for you, call on me. I'm the Errand Boy. And in the span of a week, I get calls from high profile people in the country, lawyers, judges, policemen, accountants, those busy scheduled people calling me that, hey, William, I saw your post. Somebody introduced your work to me. Can you do this errands for me? So I set in, I do those runs for them. And then it became my little business I started doing. And through this, I began to have contact with high profile people in the community. Now I knew people I could call when I need some sort of assistance. So this Errand Boy started booming. And one thing I remember was anytime I was able to step in to give somebody a helping hand and they say, God bless you. Thank you so much, William, for helping me out. It brought some good feeling inside of me. Just me hearing God bless you, for me being able to step in to assist somebody on something they couldn't have time to do. I found that as a huge blessing to me. So all these things went on. So I remember during that time with the Errand Boy, I started buying shoes from Kantamanto. And for all you know, Kantamanto is a market where if you want the best shoes, you need to go there as early as 3 a.m., 4 a.m. because people go there, rush in there to get the best of the shoes there. So I remember doing those, going to Kantamanto to get all these shoes. And I recall that on the first time that I went there, I took 90 cedis. I got 5 shoes. When I came, I washed them, took pictures, posted it on my WhatsApp status, and I was able to sell all these shoes in a span of a week. And most of my buyers were the people I was running errands for during the errand boy days. Now, I made about 800 cedis out of the 90 cedis I spent buying those shoes. So me thinking that, okay, so 90 cedis has paved way for 800 cedis. Why don't I invest all the 800 cedis in the shoes so that I can make about 2,000 or more? So I went back to Gantamanto, got about 15 shoes worth 800 cedis, came back home, took pictures, posted it on my WhatsApp status. First week, no buyer. Second week, no buyer. Third week, same. And in a month, I started wearing the shoes, and that's when I lost all the money during that business. Now, fast forward, COVID set in, right? When COVID set in 2019, 2020, I remember my grandmom woke up one day and said, "Hey, William, you need to leave this house. I need to rent your room so I can make money. You are way over 18 years old." But for me, I thought it was a joke because my grandmom occasionally would say things like that and then just forget about it and we just move on. I stepped out, came back, and my grandmom had packed all my stuff outside the gate that, "Hey, William, you need to leave this house." And at that point, I felt my whole life had come to an end because at that time I didn't have a stable job. I only had this errand boy thing I was doing, just petty trading, and it wasn't sustainable. Now, me thinking my grandmom being a leader in a church, I decided to go to the church to speak to some of the elders there to come home to come and speak on my behalf and talk to my grandmom. Now, I made it worse. These people came home, talked to my grandmom, and my grandmom told them that, "Hey, the church didn't build my house for me. I built my house, I own the house, and I decide what to do with my house. So my grandson should leave this place." And I felt the whole world had come to an end for me. I felt my whole life had come to an end because there was nowhere to go, right? So my mom had to go borrow money for me to rent a small wooden structure nearby, a room where I had to squeeze myself in a way to enter, dump all my stuff in there, sleep at one side, and it was tough. During that time, I wake up every morning praying and crying. Is it I'm praying or I'm crying because I felt my whole life had come to an end. COVID, lockdown, sometimes I go hungry the whole day and there's no one to call because the only friends I had were also struggling like me. Now, this is when I jumped on LinkedIn. And during this time, people were calling my grandmom names. I said some, I also called her names because my grandma had taken care of me throughout my childhood, paying my school fees and all of those stuff. But for her to sack me from home, it was tough. And people in the neighborhood had come around, "Why are you doing this to William? William is not a bad boy. William is not somebody who is rowdy. Why are you pushing him out of this house?" My grandma never listened to anyone. So now in this small ghetto, hot room, one day I jumped on LinkedIn and I shared a post while I was in the forest. I took a picture. I was looking very tattered with a singlet and then shorts. I took this picture and I posted it on LinkedIn. And I wrote a motivational quote around it saying that sometimes we need to go through pain and struggles just to find the beautiful things that is hidden inside of us. I didn't know what I was saying. Mind you, while I was posting this on LinkedIn, I was indoor crying. I was in pain. I was depressed. But on social media, everything looked like I was fine. Now, when I post this post, this man from the US saw it and he was like, "William, I think you have a beautiful story. Let me introduce you to this group in the US if you want to share your story." I'm like, "Cool, I want to do it." So we had a Zoom meeting, me and about 30 businessmen and women, all white people from the US, on a Zoom call. So I shared my story and these people loved it. They were like, "Wow, William, if you've gone through all these things and you are still pushing, then you give us hope to also push because we have the money, we have the resources. It's just that COVID is something that is we are thinking could break us down. So I became a member of the group. And before then, I had this invisible mark that I make, right? These black marks, when you pour hot water in it, it reveals the hidden image. So prior to the call, I made one with the image of the CEO. Now, after I shared my story and they were clapping, they were so emotional, I told them that, hey, I have something to show you. I brought the mug out, showed to them and said, no, this is who we are. This is who we are as human beings when we are not aware of the beautiful things that we have inside of us. When we go through depression, when we think we are worthless, this is how we look like, black. But sometimes when we go through pain and struggles, and I started pouring the hot water in it, when we go through pain and struggles, these moments doesn't mean we should commit suicide. It goes in there to reveal the things that we are not paying attention to reveal the things that we have hidden inside of us that God has placed inside of us. So when I said that, the water, the image started popping up slowly, and the woman saw her face and they were like, wow, William, this is so amazing. I'm like, yes. If you have one of these mugs every morning when you're having your hot tea, your hot coffee, it is going to remind you that there's something special inside of you that needs to come out for the world to see. Then guess what? Boom! I started shipping these mugs from Ghana to the US. They started buying the mugs. When I was being sacked by my grandmom to the ghetto, thinking my whole life had come to an end, it opened an opportunity for me to get on a Zoom call, to share my story, to show my product, the invisible mug. And now I'm shipping from Ghana to the US. And I started making cool money, dollars, while I was living in the ghetto. Let me leave this here. We go for a short commercial break and then we'll be back soon.
No human is useless. We've walked through storms that try to break.
Welcome back. So, after making some dollars while living in the ghetto, they made me a member of the group. A group that required me to pay about $500 every month or a year. I don't remember the amount, but they made me a member for free. So I became a member of the group. And this group was simply businessmen coming together to share business idea. When they get gigs and leads, they give it to themselves so that money revolves among themselves in the group. So I was in there. Sometimes they give me a slot for 5 minutes to share some motivational messages to them. And the next thing I saw myself like being part of was my business logo, the errand boy, Mr. Plange, the errand boy, being featured on the US Times Square billboard for 24 hours by this same group. I landed on the Times Square billboard for 24 hours, paying nothing because I met these people, this group, and they loved my story. So one day I was meditating, and then this same voice, remember the voice that whispered in my ear while I was in the forest, comes back and says, William, these people you are part of right now, they love books. They love to read books. Because every time you're on the call, you can hear them say, I read this book, it was powerful. I read this book. They recommending books. Now you have a beautiful story. Why don't you push your story in a book and title it No Human is Useless? So that is when the name No Human is Useless came. And for me, I trust that voice so much that when it comes, regardless, I do it. I had no intentions of becoming an author. It wasn't part of my plan, right? So I decided to work on it, get the book done, No Human is Useless, and I started selling to these people. And today, the book No Human is Useless, this book is 9 times international best-selling book in US, UK, Canada, and Germany. It just happened just like that. So I decided to start this whole movement because I realized that back in Ghana, people go through that same thing I went through, going to school hoping to get a good job, and they end up like how I ended up. Some cannot take it, they commit suicide. Some do whole sort of things that leads them wayward. So I decided to start this whole movement, the No Human is Useless movement. So I go to schools, I go to groups, I go to religious bodies. Anywhere I find myself where human beings are, I share my story and give them hope that regardless of whatever thing they may be going through, there's always a turning point and suicide is never an option. Now, doing this, not knowing, so I started posting everything on LinkedIn, always posting motivational messages, my tours, going to school, engaging people. I was posting these things on LinkedIn on a daily basis. Not knowing this group in the UK were monitoring me for a year. They never comment on my post, they never like my post. One day they just reach out that, hey, William, we are the Caribbean Global Awards, and then we've been monitoring you, and we love what you do. We are having our maiden edition of our awards, and we want you to be in the UK to receive an award. I had no plans of if somebody had told me you could get on a flight and go to the UK, I would say no. That is not possible because where I come from, there was no plan like that. I ended up in the UK winning the Caribbean Global Award for my global effort in helping people recover from depression. And since then, it has been good things from one to the other. And I sit back and say, see, what if I committed suicide when my grandmom sacked me? What if I took my life? All these things wouldn't have happened. All these things wouldn't have happened. But I believe God just helped me so I could hold on just one more day, and all this good stuff started coming. And now let me share this story about how I organized my annual conference, an international conference that got people coming in from Switzerland, from UK to Ghana, just because of me, and no human is useless. So in 2025, I was busily looking for international speaking gigs. I wanted to get on stage to share my story in Europe, right? And I knew people who could have just make it happen. People who just snap their fingers and it is done. But these people said no. William, not this time. William, I can't help you. William, no. William, not this time. I'm busy. I need to do my stuff. All sort of rejection, right? I was feeling so bad, but I went back into prayers, and this same female voice whispered in my ear that, William, why are you bothering yourself looking for international speaking gigs when you have a story and you can own your own event? If these people are saying no to you, it means it's time for you to start your own conference. Because if you start your own conference, you get to get on stage and speak as long as you want. So work on it. And trust me, I had no dime to make this thing happen because I had lost my job. I had lost so many things that was bringing in money. I lost everything. But I tell you, I trust this voice so much. I got my graphic designer to design a flyer for me that, hey, No Human is Useless conference is coming. We started posting it, sharing it. I started a crowdfunding platform with the help of David Safia, same man who introduced me to the US people. And people were donating money, few dollars. People who had seen my work on LinkedIn and all of those stuff saw that this was a good cause. So they were putting in money, few monies, $50, $10, $100. And I set 21 days aside to fast and pray towards this. And on the 10th day of the fasting, I saw $1,000 in the account from a total stranger. From a total stranger from Saudi Arabia, somebody I knew from nowhere. He chanced on the advert of the No Human is Useless and said, hey, I need to support this. I reach out to him to say thank you and say, William, don't thank me. I couldn't have seen this and passed by. I need to support this. If I don't support this, Allah is going to punish me. And people started sending money from nowhere. They hear about it. Hey, we need to support this. And I got this annual conference happening in Ghana. Book an auditorium worth 2,500 seater. Had people flying in from the UK, from Switzerland, all the way to Ghana to join me on stage to make this a success. And the outcome was beautiful. People got healed. And this conference was mainly about people sharing their stories, the pain they go through, things that they are not able to share. We provided a safe space for people to own up, man up, and share the things that is eating them from within. And it was total healing. It was total healing. So sometimes we go through rejection, people saying no to us. It doesn't mean no. It means that it's time for you to open that big door. So, my people, this is how the story of No Human is Useless started. And we are still pushing. Sometimes we want to give up. And this story, one day I packed all my documents that, hey, I'm tired because I'm not getting funding. I use my own money. Sometimes I don't have money. And it was draining me. One day I packed all my documents that, hey, I'm quitting this whole thing. And then this girl from TikTok messaged me, Mr. Plange, God bless you so much. I'm like, why? I chanced on your video. And you know, I have attempted suicide 8 times. I failed. I was about trying the 9th one, and I chanced on your video. And I realized that I'm not useless. Sorry. And I changed my mind. So God bless you so much for what you do with No Human is Useless. And it was emotional. That day, I shed tears alone in my room. I went back, picked up the documents, and I went back so hard. And today we are doing amazing stuff. We go to the prisons, we go to churches, we are being invited to speak, and every time it is healing. And thank God, every stage of my life, I was taking pictures. So the evidence is clear. People see the pictures. That was me. That was me in that state. And this is me now. And it's total healing. So this is what I have to leave with you guys. Regardless of whatever thing you may go through in life, suicide should never be an option. There's always a way around it. Just give yourself just one more day and things are going to turn around. Thank you for listening to this episode. And our next episode, we are going to have guests on, people with amazing stories to come and share their stories to give you hope. People who have gone through the things that you are going through that you feel that your life should come to an end. People who have been there, but they've been able to come out of it and creating amazing stuff right now. So thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again. Big shout outs to our sponsors, TryWork Ghana and Brain Fitness Center Africa. See you on the next episode. Thank you.
No human is useless. We've walked through storms that try to break our name.